My next-door neighbors left a note in our mailbox this morning threatening to sue us. Now, while this was dumb as hell, I have to admit, it took some guts, and I do respect that. Now, the situation has already been nipped in the bud, and I don't make this video to complain. And I don't want any comments speaking badly about my neighbors. This was very truly a grand teaching moment for my niece, who watched it all unfold in real time, and I thought, this is something good to make a video about how I went about handling this. So the situation is this. We live in the countryside, and we have new neighbors, Gen Z first-time homeowners, who are attempting to homestead. Their home is actually fairly close to our home for country standards. We also have 2 German Shepherds, whom we have trained to be protection dogs. We have to. There's coyotes and bears and all manner of dangerous wildlife out here. Well, the new neighbors got cattle and did not bother to tell us about this. Then their cows got loose. Their cows were not on their property. When my dogs spotted them, they were on a neighbor's property behind our property. And my dogs did their duty. They recognized this is an animal that's not supposed to be here, and they spooked the cows, and the cows went off and went missing. I really shouldn't have to explain just how dangerous it is to have cows roaming free, unpenned. I went inside to work out, and the wife stopped by and spoke to my husband and said that her cows are now missing. My heart went out to her. I'm like, oh my gosh, she lost her cows. This is a serious investment. And I contacted my neighbors to ask if they had seen that. I contacted the neighbor who has a lot of land behind me to see if he had seen anything on his trail cams. I jumped into my truck to go looking for these cows because I actually felt very heartsick for this girl. I didn't have her or her husband's number. I went over to the house, but they weren't there. They were out looking for the cows. And a couple days passed, and I just hadn't had the time to go over there and ask them if they found the cows. Then we get this letter in our mailbox, more or less blaming us for the cows going missing, which had since been found, and warning us that they would have to take legal action if something like this happened again. Now, these people do not know me, which made this all the more amusing for me. You do not threaten me, especially since I now, unfortunately, know the law pretty damn well, and we did nothing wrong. Meanwhile, they had unpenned cows. My husband was very irritated, and I said, do not worry, I will deal with it. Now, the important thing to know in dealing with others is that the person who is less emotional about the situation has the control. I have the control in all of my dealings. And there is great power in knowing that you can control which way a dealing goes. So my teenage niece watched all of this unfold real time, and I had a great opportunity to lecture her about it. My first text message to them, it was very kind. It was very merciful, but it was very stern. Quite honestly, if I had dealt with these people harshly, knowing what I know about them, knowing that they are Gen Zers, and let's be real, Gen Zers are not great socially, and that they're young and quite honestly very naive, I would have been the one at fault if I had dealt harshly with them. If you are the one who has more knowledge and control and power, use it for the betterment of the world. What good would it have been for me to deal harshly with these people and make them even more upset? I had a back and forth with these people, which ended with them texting me, "Thank you for understanding." And my texting them, "We are truly grateful that you are here." These people threatened this morning to sue me. I turned it around. I pointed out to them that our shepherds were doing their jobs. They were protecting our property from animals that they were unfamiliar with, which is exactly the reason we got them. I also pointed out that our dogs are really the least of their worries out here. We just lost half our chickens to a family of raccoons overnight. You gonna try to sue them, Biddy? We got coyotes and bears, sweetheart. Lock up your damn cows. Now, I could have retaliated by pointing out to them, do you know how dangerous it is to have a cow out of a pen? I have children. If your animals make their way onto my property, I will shoot them. That's how my husband wanted to deal with it. I also caught them straight up lying quite a few times in their messages, saying bizarre things like, oh, we have so much acreage, good thing we found them. And I'm like, you have like 2 acres, girl. I didn't call them out on any of these little bizarre things. I didn't bother to correct them. At one point, they referred to my calling them young, which I did, in fact, sternly tell them, I will look past your indiscretion because you are young. I did not beat around the bush. They did not like this and made some sort of counter jab about my referring to this. I pointed out to my niece that when people want you to address something in a biting manner, and you simply ignore it because you, quite honestly, do not care, you do in fact have the upper hand. And she watched all this unfold and end with me saying, I'm truly grateful that you're here. And I pointed out to her, there's so much power in being able to control the situation. I said, these people started the day angry at me, and now midday, I have made them happy. They are comfortable. I guarantee you they were shaking in their boots when they went out of their way to threaten to sue their new neighbors. But then again, they probably went to their friends and told them about the situation and how our dogs chased their cows, and their friends probably advised them, oh, you should threaten to sue them. You cannot be angry with people for not knowing things. If people are not granted the opportunity through experience or mentorship to have certain knowledge and wisdom, you can't be mad at them for it. And I took this into account. Yes, I could have pointed out, this is dumb as hell. I could countersue you for your cows being loose near my property and I have kids. I could have done that, but I didn't. I made the decision to make them feel good. And that is real power. I do not feel trampled upon. I stood up for myself and I controlled the situation. I don't feel ashamed. They didn't make me feel ashamed. And now, whether they realize it or not, I plan on giving them some mentorship on how to deal with country neighbors because they very clearly need it. Somebody has to teach them how to behave and interact with country neighbors because obviously nobody did, and I can't get mad at them about that. It's an opportunity that they simply didn't have. When you choose to live in the country and have country neighbors, especially if they have animals, you ought to adjust your expectations. Now, in order to add some brevity to this video, I'm going to tell you a very funny story about country life neighbors. Now, as stated, when you choose to live out in the country and have country neighbors, you are more or less agreeing to certain risks. A few years ago, I was very pregnant and my neighbors had turkeys. I was taking myself to a pregnancy appointment, went out to my truck and noticed, why does my truck smell really weird? Driving down the highway, I noticed big globs of stuff coming off the top of my truck. Very confusing. Got out of my truck at my doctor's appointment and saw some mysterious, weird, gross stuff on the top of my truck. I was like, well, I ain't got time to worry about this now. I'll figure this out later. When I got home, I saw a new creature in my backyard. Me in all of my waddling pregnant glory, with an absolutely non-functioning pregnancy brain, walked up to this animal. I stood there and yelled, "What are you?" at it. Then I turned to see my savage daughter standing in the window looking at me. She was then 7 years old. The look on her face as she saw her big fat pregnant mother waddling up behind this mysterious animal, yelling at it, demanding answers, was the immediate embarrassment and shame which followed. I then walk in front of the animal and try to get it out of my backyard. I waddle up, get it to turn around. It's looking at me like, it starts leaving my backyard as I wander behind it. Just go, get out of my yard. turns to look at me and poops right on my patio before exiting my fence. I then message my neighbor and say, I think some of your guinea fowl got out. She goes, no, it's probably a turkey, you big pregnant idiot. She didn't say that last part. I don't know. I hadn't seen turkeys, other than on my plate. So then I tell her, I think your turkey's been hanging out on top of my truck, and I think it pooped all over it. She responds with the appropriate amount of apology. As I'm texting her, another turkey walks up and jumps on top of my truck, and I watch it start to scratch the hell out of the top of my truck. This is real time. She's mortified by it. She's saying, the two turkeys have been making their way over and deciding that the top of my truck is now their home. My husband was not happy and trying to chase the turkey away. I'm deeply amused and taking a video of all of this and sending these videos to my neighbor. But her turkeys had made their way to my property and were messing with my property. Now, I could have been justifiably upset about this. However, this is kind of the risk you take, moving out to the country and having homesteading country neighbors. I could have been upset, but I chose not to be, because it's not like my neighbor was like, yeah, sometimes that happens, deal with it. She actually did care. And then she told me, listen, I know this is a problem, but I am not going to have time to deal with this for a few days. I'm just not. We will make an enclosure for them, but I can't do that for a few more days. Can you just run them off of your property when you see them? So then I turn to the internet and go to a group to ask for advice. I tell them the situation. Our neighbor's turkeys are getting on top of our truck. Does anyone have any advice for stopping these turkeys from jumping up on top of our truck and pooping and scratching it and all that jazz? I wasn't there to complain about my neighbor. I was actually looking for real advice. Do you know what the response was? Everybody just talking about how awful a neighbor I had, how horrible she is, how I should retaliate, maybe even legally retaliate. At the very least, take her birds. And after a string of these comments, I was like, guys, my neighbors are better people than I am. Why do you just assume that I'm perfect and these are bad neighbors? My neighbors are really good neighbors. My one neighbor is a walking saint on earth. She is a far better person than I am. But people were so quick to just assume that my neighbors were bad and I should do bad to them. And I know for damn sure that's what my new neighbors were told by their friends and family. Go threaten to sue the neighbors with dogs that spooked your cows. Guarantee you, no one in their life said, hey, why the hell weren't your cows all penned up? Why the hell didn't you tell your neighbors with shepherds you were getting cows? No, they probably had people tell them to go after us, much like I had people tell me to go after my good neighbor with these turkeys. I said, no, I'm looking for some real advice here. And then someone turned around and said, turkeys are afraid of black snakes. Get some rubber black snakes and throw them on top of your truck. Thank you. So I did. Guess what? I got to see a turkey jump up on top of my truck, go, oh shit, and fall off. And it was hilarious. And I didn't have any bad blood with my neighbor. Because you know what? I had a stupid idiot dog before, rest in peace, that would go over there because he had wanderlust. And my neighbors weren't nasty to me about it. They'd text me and be like, hey, your dog's over here watching me milk goats. Because I was a very busy mom of 4 under 4 years old, and I'm just trying to survive. And that's the attitude you need to have with others. There's so much power in mercy. There's so much peace in mercy. I don't feel any bad blood for these people. I looked where they were coming from. I acknowledged it. I took control of the situation, and I chose the outcome to be a positive one. And now positive things have been put out into the universe instead of negative. There is power in mercy. That's what this is about. Just choose to be merciful. And I promise it's going to make you happier.